Hello everyone, it's Leon here and welcome to this week's PS4 O'Clock. Now we're going over some old ground this week because I've got an update on PlayStation Now and wireless headphones, which I remember I covered last week, as well as some new information on Metal Gear Solid and Killzone Shadowfall. Now let's start with PlayStation Now. As I said last week, the beta has started and people are using the service on PlayStation 3. Now the reason they're using PlayStation 3, I suspect, is because the network is more stable, it's better understood, it's been there for a while. Sony can predict and understand better how the service works, although obviously it is intended in the long run for PlayStation 4 to access kind of PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 games, PlayStation 1 games even, but they're testing it I think on PS3 because they know how that network works. But a video has been leaked. I can't show it to you because Sony have been taking it down with copyright claims, so if I put anything on this video at all, it'll be nuked from orbit and we won't see anything. I can describe what I saw and how the service works. So PlayStation Now exists as a little icon in the XMB, obviously. From selecting that icon to the PlayStation Now menu takes 40 seconds to load. When it gets there, the games that were shown on display were Dead or Alive 5, Disgaea 4, Paponio, Killzone 3, Puppeteer, Ninja Gaiden 3, Darksiders 2 and MX and ATV, and also Shatter. So those are the games on display that are available for testing at the moment. The video then selects Killzone 3 and it takes around about 1 minute 17 seconds from selecting the game to getting to the game's opening epilepsy warning. So it's a little over a minute to load the game through PlayStation Now. During that time there are a number of messages such as authorizing, testing connection and loading game. The video then shows the game being played. When the game is quit, you are given a number of options to rate the game for, and those included things like video, audio, responsiveness and overall. So I guess they're getting feedback on how good the video stream was, how good the audio was, how responsive the controls are. And so I can't show you any of this, but it's been seen in the wild. We know it's working, we know it's actually very fast. I mean, 1 minute to load Killzone through PlayStation Now is actually faster than I think it would take to load it on an actual PS3, so that's quite encouraging. Still no word on whether it's coming to, when it's coming to the UK or the EU at all, but Sony are testing the structure now as we speak. Also returning to a story I covered last week, we now have wireless headset support on PS4. Update 1.6 happened this week and brought in the compatibility, so Pulse headsets are now compatible, wireless headsets are now compatible. The Sony Wireless Gold headsets that I covered last week have now been officially announced. They're actually called Wireless Stereo Headset 2.0 for PS4. They will be released on the 10th of February and cost $79.99. They're a 7.1 virtual surround sound headset with a noise-free cancelling internal microphone, so I believe it's built into the headset, and it charges via USB with 8 hours of battery life. Also coming along will be an app that will let you store sound settings and EQ settings essentially, so you can set up different levels for films, for games, for specific games, and then access and change them through this free app which will be available on the store. One of the first games to use this app will be Infamous Second Son, and Sucker Punch are working on essentially a special audio scene that you can download, set up through the app, and then play the game through the headset using Sucker Punch's own audio mix essentially. Now on the games front we've got some news for Metal Gear Solid 5, and it's unfortunately not great news. There was some coverage recently in America where they got to play Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes and discovered that essentially if you want to play through it and finish it, it'll take you about 2 hours. They also said that Konami's own speedrunners have been able to finish the game in 5 minutes. We knew it was going to be a tutorial, we knew it was going to be a short prologue, but it looks like it's going to be really short, barely an evening's worth of entertainment. Hideo Kojima has come out on Twitter and said that the clear time is not representative of the game. It's a non-linear game, so the idea of finishing it as fast as you can, he says, is not representative of the experience. There are 5 what he calls side ops, so side missions, that can be unlocked by collecting Zoff patches through the game, and there are also what he calls trial records, so I guess kind of speed runs, time runs that you can sort of compete with your friends on leaderboards with. So while you can run through the game, finish it really fast, he says it's non-linear, it's open, there are various different approaches, and that this 2-hour time isn't representative of the experience itself. There's also been news on Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Konami had financial calls this week, and market analyst Dave Gibson was listening to them and tweeting news on what was being said. According to Gibson, he says that Konami have admitted that Ground Zeroes is a bit short, but more importantly, he said that Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain could be released in the third quarter or financial year 3 of 2015 or 2016, depending on development. So it sounds like the game is not yet at a stage in its development where they can predict a release date, and we could potentially be looking at 2016 release date for Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. So it could be a lot further off than we think. In other gaming news, we finally have clan support for Killzone Shadowfall. Now, patch version 1.09 has implemented clan support into the game. It's already been on the website where you can organise your clans and name clans, but now the functionality is in-game, so you can invite clan members to a party. Clan tags are now also added to player names. It's the first stage of clans being implemented. They said they would be rolling it out in sections, so this is the first part. It's now in the game. You can now play, we can now organise your clans, I should say. They've also locked the frame rate to 30 frames a second in the single player mode. Initially the frame rate was unlocked. It was said that it never dropped below 30, but it could go up higher, and the variation in frame rate was causing some problems, I think, for some people, and now they've got the option to lock it. So if you want, you can keep the frame rate unlocked and you can have a higher frame rate but it will drop down, or you can lock it at 30 and it'll stay there. Finally, as well, they have added checkpoint saving on every revive event. So checkpoints are quite sporadic through the game. You could play through quite a lot without finding a checkpoint and have to replay large sections of the game. They've now added checkpoints every time you revive, so that you can essentially restart the game wherever you die. So there's a much wider expanse of checkpoints. It should make some of the longer sections easier to play, a little less frustrating. So there you go, that is the PlayStation news this week. We've seen PlayStation Now Beta in action. We know that it's very fast loading times. It's pretty much a minute to load up a game, and they are rating things like audio, video, responsiveness. They're getting feedback on how well the game works. Wireless headset support has finally been patched in for PS4, and the previously leaked headphones have been confirmed as Headset 2.0 for PlayStation 4. We know that Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes is a very short game, and we also know that Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain might not even be out until 2016. And finally, Killzone Shadowfall has started the first stage of clan support, implementing clan names and clan tags in its patch 1.0, as well as locking the frame rate to 30 frames a second and adding checkpoints on revives in the single player campaign. So there you go, that's this week's news. If you've got any questions, leave a comment and I'll try and answer them. And again, any suggestions for things you'd like to see covered, leave a comment, and I shall see you guys next week.